Did you know that most misconceptions of Islam come from the West hundreds of years ago? Let's dive into some history and clear up some misconceptions about Islam. A lot of people have misunderstandings about Islam, but many of these misconceptions started hundreds of years ago, particularly during the Crusades. Now, the Crusades are often viewed as a battle between Christians and Muslims, but it's crucial to understand that the Crusaders didn't always view the Muslims as the enemy in the way many might think. First, let's talk about how Islam was perceived after the Crusades. The Crusades were a series of religious wars beginning in the 11th century where European Christians tried to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. The Crusaders saw the Muslims as infidels, and unfortunately, that narrative stuck. This battle was framed as us versus them, which sowed long-lasting seeds of animosity and mistrust between Christians and Muslims. But the truth is, when Islam began its expansion, it wasn't about forced conversions or violent conquests, as many Western narratives suggest. The spread of Islam into regions like Spain, for example, wasn't about military oppression. It was about cultural exchange, intellectual flourishing, and coexistence. In the 8th century, Muslims entered Spain not to conquer for the sake of conquest, but to expand trade, knowledge, and culture. What followed was something extraordinary. In Spain, under Muslim rule, Christians, Jews, and Muslims lived side by side for hundreds of years during a period known as La Convivencia, the coexistence. This wasn't the clash of civilizations that many are led to believe. In fact, many of the intellectual advancements we associate with the European Renaissance, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, were influenced heavily by Islamic scholars who had translated and built upon Greek and Roman knowledge. You have people like Ibn Rushd, whose work shaped European philosophy, and Ibn Sina, whose medical texts were studied in European universities. It wasn't until the Reconquista, when Christian monarchs fought to reclaim Spain, that this period of peaceful coexistence came to an end. But even then, the portrayal of Islam as the enemy didn't reflect the reality of what Muslim rule in Spain represented, a thriving society of learning, cultural exchange, and religious tolerance. Sadly, over the centuries, the myth of violent, oppressive Islam was perpetuated through literature and media, even though the history of Islam in Spain and other parts of the world was much more complex. So when we talk about the Crusades and the spread of Islam, it's important to look beyond the simple narratives. Islam's history is rich with contributions to science, philosophy, and art, things that shouldn't be overlooked just because of a few centuries of conflict.